Here I'm going to show you the low poly modeling of the body, or mostly just the shirt. Of course, I derive it from the actual mesh that we created for the sculpting, and I just select edges and try to collapse and dissolve and do all that good stuff. I'm trying to be a little bit careful because, of course, there are a lot of these edges. They do define the shape quite a lot, but I should be able to reduce it down quite a lot. And I select all those edges, and I use the spacing tool from Loop Tools, because that one is brilliant at creating a nice uniform mesh. Even though this is for low poly, it still needs to be a somewhat nice uniform for mesh, or at least I want to do that, because yeah, this is like in case I wanted to do this for something that needs to deform. So ideally, yeah, if you're working for a production, then you would do this in an A pose or a T pose. In this case, I'm making this specifically for portfolio purposes and for something that is gonna be in a very specific pose. So I don't really care so much about that, but I still want to try to make a nice uniform form mesh. So when I've done that, I start with cutting in all the edges in all the main important wrinkles in the body. I'm trying to keep it a little bit simple and low, but for some of these wrinkles, they are they protrude so much out from the body that I just find it necessary to just put in a little bit of extra geometry in there. So you see, I'm just following the peak for the most part, and just making sure that I cut in enough geometry, and so that I have something up there. And by the way, I'm using that add-on that I used to create the topology for the head and for the shirt. I'm using the same one just to cut in, because the benefit of that tool is that it snaps automatically to the geometry every time I cut in these edges. So it's just a little bit easier and faster for me to use. So yeah, I'm just gonna go around and look very critically at the different wrinkles that I have, and constantly check the silhouette. I use that script that I have and compare it to the high resolution, and just try to make sure that it fits somewhat decently to the low poly version fits somewhat decently to the high poly version. And you see here these wrinkles on the top. They really define a nice silhouette. So of course I need to have the same type of edges in the lower resolution version as well. Here you see I select the edges that I think make sense for the UVs. These happen to be the kind of like the seam where there would be naturally seams in the cloth. I didn't actually make the seams right there, in an ideal situation, I should have done that, but at least if I decide to put in a pattern or something like that, then it's going to be a little bit easier to do that when you actually have the seams where they would naturally be. I'm still not done with it. I have to cut up the arms and things like that as well. So you see here, I'm gonna cut off the arms, because of course in a normal shirt that's something that you would do. So yeah, in this case, you can see that the angle-based algorithm for the UV unwrap works pretty well. Now I'm going to start with the belt, and this belt is giving me a little bit of headaches because, or it gave me a little bit of headaches because I wanted it to be separate, but I knew that, if I was making this for an actual game, an actual production, then it should deform nicely together with a shirt, and having a floating belt like this, being that close to the surface of the shirt, that would be a nightmare to rig. So for you guys, because since I'm doing this as a tutorial thing, I decided to show how I would integrate the belt as a part of the shirt, so that it would be easier to deform. So you see the basic process is cutting in those edges that are pretty close to the belt, and then making sure that I have a decent geometry that follows the belt all the way around. So here you see that I'm selecting all those polygons of the belt, and I am running an inset face operation and just pushing those out to approximate the depth of the belt. But the thing is that it needs to really fit the high resolution. So to do that, I put that high resolution model on a separate layer, just so that it's easier for me to work, and then I literally snap the low resolution to the belt, which is a tedious process, to be honest. But they don't need to be perfect, but it should fit pretty decently. And you see that I actually did that little top part of the shirt. I made it I didn't show it in this tutorial. I'm sorry about that. If you want to see it, you can see it in the time-lapse version of these videos. But I made it as a part of the model, or I combined the shape, because there's no reason for me to make it like an overlapping object like it was in the high resolution. So there you see that I'm going through and I'm selecting edges that I want to be hard, and I'm going to do the same exact thing as I did with the Nerf gun, and I'm going to select those edges and add them as UV seams. And of course, yeah, I need that seam in the middle of the shirt as well, obviously. So yeah, that worked out pretty alright. And then it's the same process for, I'm also cutting up the belt because it's a very long UV island. It's just a little bit easier to pack it if you cut it into several pieces. And I do that where the magazines are so that you don't actually see the seams. And I just go through the same exact process for all the other magazines and all the belt stuff. And that's, of course, the same exact process as I did for the Nerf gun. So I don't really think you need to repeat that. Here you see that I'm running a pack island, and I'm just making sure that you have enough margin for you to be able to comfortably bake this. The packing tools in Blender are really, really fast. They pack based off the bounding box of the UV island, so it doesn't always do it so tightly, but it can be a nice starting point for a UV layout. And here you see I'm evaluating how much resolution I'm gonna be able to get out of a 4K map, and you can see it actually works out pretty well. And I also, when I was doing that, I also found a bug with a mirror modifier that wasn't supposed to be there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.